There's a lot that works about Joker. Joaquin Phoenix's titular performance creates sympathy for a character's situation while at the same time helping us understand why most people would avoid him at all costs. The production design, impeccable. Gotham is tactile. Its poverty is believable, and the city's cruelty feels human. And those gunshots, crisp sound design. At the end of it all, I still can't say that the movie did anything for me. The story very intentionally keeps us locked in Arthur's perspective. He's in every scene and we're experiencing the events of the movie from inside his head. On its face, this choice makes sense. If the movie's setting out to chronicle the events leading to Arthur's breaking point and explain why someone like him would lash out at the world, we need an intimate understanding of the man himself. We need to see what he wants, what his problems are, why his circumstances would drive him to take such drastic action. This decision ends up creating a strange problem. The movie forgets that it's really about a villain. Whether or not the people that Arthur kills deserve to die is obviously up for debate, and the mileage may vary, but we only see them at their worst, with basically zero redeeming qualities. Think back to the 3 finance bros that Arthur shoots on the subway. They're only seen beating an innocent man for no reason, and Arthur kills the first 2 in self-defense. The last one, the guy Arthur shoots in cold blood, might have been running away, but we're given no reason to feel bad for him. No reason to think his death is anything but deserved. He was just as complicit as his friends. Arthur's mother allowed an ex-boyfriend to abuse her own son, then kept the truth of his condition a secret for years, and took advantage of his uninformed love for her to make him give her baths?
Arrest this guy, please. Arrest this. You know what? Kill this guy.
Randall got an already financially struggling Arthur fired from his job, and pretended to show Arthur sympathy for his mother's death, only to reveal that he actually came by to cover his own ass from the murder investigations. He's also just mean to Gary.
Hoy wants to see you in his office.
Hey, Gary, you know what I've always wondered?
No idea.
Do you people call it miniature golf, or is it just golf to you?
Murray took footage of a sad, mentally ill amateur comedian hitting an open mic for the first time and put the guy on blast in front of the whole world. All of these people did something, and again, some of them might not have deserved death, but given their portrayal, it's hard to feel sorry for them. We don't see anyone genuinely mourn them. The finance bros get a mention from Thomas Wayne, but this might just be me, it doesn't feel like he's really gonna lose a ton of sleep over their deaths. Arthur does murder his therapist in the final scene, and yes, she hasn't done anything wrong, but she's functionally no one. She has one line, we know nothing about her, we don't even see her die. If we saw her make an honest attempt to relate to him in an effort to build a bridge, and then he killed her, then it's a different story. We'd feel bad, but as it stands right now, we don't. Bruce's parents die, but Thomas Wayne stands the finance bros. We never meet Martha, and we again know nothing about this Bruce or his relationship with his parents. It's also hard to argue that Arthur himself isn't genuinely fulfilled at the end of the story. He's laughing for real, the people love him, he seems happy. There are too many stories out there arguing the futility of revenge, claiming revenge doesn't really settle anything internally for the person taking it. Joker stands out because taking revenge worked for Arthur on basically every level. He might be in a mental hospital, but man, you couldn't tell from the way he smiles. So at the end of the day, Arthur kills everyone who ever showed him cruelty. He spares the people who are kind to him, with the exception of the therapist, but he ultimately earns Gotham's love and personal satisfaction. I know at the time of release, people were concerned this movie would inspire acts of violence. I never really bought into that, but after watching it, it does kind of feel like that's what the movie, intentional or not, does. In our world, we've seen too many people lash out in the way Arthur did, and they don't spare the innocent. And while I don't have a unique insight into the minds of these people, I doubt the violence they resorted to made them happy or fulfilled them in any kind of way. Arthur's issues with Gotham are valid. He's routinely ignored, abused, humiliated, and he's not alone. His actions, on the other hand, they don't address the problems that he has with society. And in that, we find my main problem with the film. No one ever convincingly tells Arthur that he's wrong. So I don't know for sure if the people behind this movie really believe that Arthur is wrong. and even if they believe so, they don't convey compelling viewpoints to challenge the main character. Thomas Wayne, Murray, they fight back against Arthur's perspective, but their arguments are perfunctory, empty, vacuous. They don't engage with Arthur's issues in a meaningful way. You might say that's the point. Wayne and Murray's hand-waving feeds into Arthur's frustration and the people in power's refusal to tackle systemic issues seriously and with empathy is the reason that things are as bad as they are. And this is where personal preference comes in, because for me, this movie doesn't go far enough to explain Arthur's actions, and while understandable, aren't really productive or moral. To that you could say, well dude, it's obviously bad that Arthur kills people. You don't need the movie to hold your hand and spell it out for you, bitch. And to that, I'd say the movie goes out of its way to tell you that killing people who wrong you isn't only okay, but it's good for your mental health. So to me, the movie pays lip service to heavy themes, but its delivery feels forced and blunt. I don't feel like anyone behind the movie wanted to meaningfully engage with the issues it featured. None of the characters opposing Arthur have coherent beliefs, they just outright dismiss him.
You finished? I mean, it's so much self-pity, Arthur. You sound like you're making excuses for killing those young men. Not everybody, and I'll tell you this, not everyone is awful.
They're sock puppets, they're not real people. Murray's character on paper makes sense as an antagonist for Arthur. He's a famous comedian, something Arthur wants to become. And Arthur wants to feel seen and acknowledged by the world. Arthur doesn't have a father, so Murray's parasocial personality fills that void. To Arthur, Murray represents success. But when Murray turns on Arthur, Arthur's perception of that success shatters. The idea that people in power don't care about him is reinforced by Murray's video. And by the end of the film, Arthur killing Murray ostensibly is him taking his place. But now that Arthur's a celebrity, people now see him. Murray's murder is the climax of the movie. He's in some sense the final boss, the last hurdle Arthur needs to leap to become Joker. But Murray himself is just another mean person that Arthur needs to kill. Arthur murdering him doesn't represent winning an argument or overcoming an opposing viewpoint. It's just him killing another guy, a famous guy, but beyond that, there's nothing really distinguishing Murray from Arthur's other victims. The relationship between Arthur and Murray is meant to evoke Rupert and Jerry Langford's back and forth in The King of Comedy, a Scorsese film that the director Todd Phillips has repeatedly stated was one of his primary inspirations for Joker. And if you've seen that movie, it isn't hard to tell. But in King of Comedy, Langford, the character Murray is based on, dismisses Rupert, an aspiring comedian, because he's burnt out by his work and the schedule that comes with it. He believes that Rupert is naive and correctly sees that Rupert doesn't want to put in the real work to become famous. He has an insight into Rupert's character, and Rupert constantly misses the point. The fact that Rupert ends up succeeding in spite of it all allows Scorsese to make that specific point about the nature of fame. Murray, on the other hand, doesn't tell Arthur anything he hasn't already heard. By defeating Murray, Arthur doesn't prove anything, he just kills a new guy. I'm not the first person to make this point, and I'm sure I won't be the last, but Joker needed an antagonist, someone with a coherent perspective that Arthur could overcome, and in turn reveal how low Arthur was capable of going to get what he needed. I hope that its sequel at least brings something like that to the table. I hope to see Arthur challenged in some way, and I hope that its conflict can actually tell us something new about the character, or something at all. I just want the Joker to have his own villain.